Hey, what's poppin', guys? Szyl here, and today we're taking a look at the Rising Sun collection. So first things first, we have the G3 SG1 Orange Kimono, which is actually surprisingly good for a gray, especially a bit of an older one. It's got a very nice vibrant orange back and a kind of cool design going on the scope, which a lot of G3 skins don't have scope designs, so having one's kind of cool. And then the rest of the skin has that same design but with a more gray and like black finish on it. Unfortunately, the bottom half here isn't colored in with like any kind of design. I guess it's technically unfinished, but most of the skin is very finished, and honestly, the orange and gray go together very, very well. And I'd actually not mind picking one of these up. I'm gonna put it in C tier. I might actually look at getting one after this video, considering it's a gray, it's probably relatively cheap. Anyway, next up is the sawed-off bamboo shadow, which is actually kind of cool. Now, I'm not sure why this red dot is here with like the creator's name probably, like Dias Poly or something. Kind of weird that that's there. But otherwise, it's got a kind of cool, it's like a shadowy lake with all like the lily pad like reef things coming out. It's kind of cool. It's a bit better than stock, and it's actually a gray finish, which is abnormal for the sawed-off, because the sawed-off is one of the few stock weapons that doesn't look gray. I'd actually get it as a C tier, because if you're keeping generally stock skins, I think getting this, with the way it's recolored, it actually looks more like stock than most of the stock weapons. Sorry, it looks more like stock than the actual sawed-off. Like, it would go better with all of your other stock weapons. So if you're making a stock collection, I consider picking this up. And, I mean, if you just want like a relatively decent black and gray skin, well, this is also a good option for you. Anyway, next up is the P250 Mint Kimono, which has that same design from the G3, but with a very, very cool color scheme of like a neon green yellow, all the way up to a white at the end as the pattern kind of loosens up, which I think actually looks dope as fuck. Now, I think this one differs with patterns, so keep that in mind. But this pattern of going from like a neon green, like heavy pattern up into like a really light white one looks dope as fuck, dude. I actually kind of want one. I'm gonna put that at B tier. That's something I'd actually kind of want. Next up is the PP-Bizon bamboo print, which is it's the same kind of pattern as the sawed-off, except with a very, like, stupidly bright color scheme. It is a very bright white. I feel like I'm getting flashbang just looking at this thing. And, yeah, I'd say it's definitely better than stock. It's not necessarily something I want to pick up. I actually like having my eyes. Anyway, next up is the Tec-9 Bamboo Forest. I actually remember I got this at drop way back when. I was there for a while. Something along those lines. Maybe I bought it. I don't know. But it's virtually the same, except the leaves are colored in a very nice, like, green that look like real leaves. I probably wouldn't mind picking one of these up again. Definitely a low C tier, right? I wouldn't like expressly recommend getting this, but it's definitely not a bad option if it's still cheap. If it's expensive, maybe don't pick it up, but it's still cheap. It's a solid C tier. Then we have the Desert Eagle Midnight Storm, which is a nice, like, cyan looking skin with some waves, like, crashing down all over the skin. Actually looks low key kind of dope. If that sticker wasn't there, I think it'd look even better. Not sure why this has a sticker on it. Kind of. Anyway, yeah, it's kind of a dope skin. Uh, I might actually pick one up. Not as cool as that P250, I think, so it's still lower B tier, but a B tier nonetheless. We have the P250 Crimson Komodo, which is notorious for having a very particular pattern of basically the red here will shift based on the pattern you get, so you can have more red toward the top or bottom. I think it looks cooler with more red toward the top because where it doesn't have this nice vibrant red, it basically looks like the stock P250 otherwise. So having a whole top that's red instead of a whole bottom that's red is a lot nicer, so this is a bad pattern. The good pattern, though, it's still kind of mediocre, and I'd put it actually as the worst skin we've seen so far, but still a bit better than stock, so it's still a D tier. And we have our first blue, the Tec-9 Terrace. Um, yeah. Not sure what this is supposed to be. The yellow mag's kind of cool. The design otherwise is really confused with white, yellow, and black. The design does not go very well with the color scheme and it doesn't fit together very well. It's still definitely better than stock, but that's about all I can say. So yeah, for a low D tier skin, honestly. Next up, we have the Galil AR Aqua Terrace, which is the same thing, but with like a very, very light blue finish, which actually works a lot better. But it's also an unfinished skin, because half of the skin is just uncolored for no reason. So just for that, it's a like low D tier. I'd say it's lower than the Tec-9, because at least the Tec-9 is finished. Next up, we have the Mag 7 Counter Terrace, which is a green version of that same exact design, which, yet again, is partially uncolored. On the front handle here, the top, and the two little squares, or parallelograms, or whatever the fuck they're called. And it also a bit scratched on the handle and back and front per the usual Mag 7, so that kind of takes away from a bit as well. And it's already kind of a mediocre design, so I'm just going to put that also below the Tec-9, despite it having a better kind of color scheme than the Tec-9. The rest of the weapon is significantly worse. At least the Tec-9 covers the whole weapon. Then we have the M4A4 Daybreak, which is kind of dope. Now, this is weirdly enough like the only Daybreak I know of where the sun is hidden. The sun is normally very visible toward like the middle of the skin. It actually differs its location based on its pattern, but generally it's more visible toward like the middle-ish part of the weapon. So having it here kind of sucks. It makes it worse. I think it's cooler to have it toward the middle. That being said, it's a somewhat solid design, but half the weapon is still untextured, which I absolutely despise. So I'd still probably put this in D tier, but I put it toward the top just for having a dope ass design, which nothing else really down there has. But it is unfinished and still half stock, so I'd honestly probably stick to stock if I had the option between these two skins. Next up is the Desert Eagle Sunset Storm, which has the waves crashing of the Midnight Storm, and also this guy like eating like a mushroom or something down here. That's kind of weird. I don't really know what that guy's up to. But anyway, it has the same kind of waves crashing of the Midnight Storm, but has like a blood red color. I guess it's supposed to be like the blood red sea of the sunset or whatever. I got no clue. I think it actually looks worse with a red coloring, but it's still kind of dope. So I'll put it. The bottom is deep B tier, right below its exact copy in blue. And next up, we have the 5.7 Neon Kimono. And this one can actually differ a lot via patterns. You can get one that's either mostly white, one that's mostly neon, or one that's in between. I think this one's actually more white toward the front and just happens to be neon on the back. If you get this in full neon, like something like this, actually, I think something close to this looks a lot cooler, or mostly white looks a lot cooler. Something like this that I think is in between is just somewhat alright. But when you have better patterns for this, it actually looks kind of dope. Not as cool as the Deagles, in my opinion, so maybe I'll move this stuff up to the A tier. But it's still pretty solid skin. Yeah. Next up is the AK-47 Hydroponic, which is kind of dope. It's a weed AK. It's got a green coloring, has some like weed-like things in the middle here. Even has like the creator's name, I guess Deadly Panda or something. I don't know. And then it has the nice wood finish that the stock AK actually has. That's the best part of the stock AK is that wood finish. So having it there is actually nice. And it does a pretty nice job recoloring the mag and handle. Yeah, I mean it looks somewhat okay. Put this on the B tier, probably below the Neon Kimono. It's pretty alright. And the final skin, and one I kind of wished I pick up back when this thing used to be like, $20 to $30, is the AUG Akihibra Accept, which now goes upwards to $2,700 apparently for fact new, which is just insane. Uh, I really can't stress how nuts that is. It's got, anime girl in the back, got a bunch of Japanese text and stuff. I can't read it, but it'd be kind of dope to have just for the anime girl in the back. It even says 1v5 clutch and stuff, and says something about your KD and CSGO. Now, it doesn't cover the whole skin, which is kind of a downside, but it's like the only gun I can think of in CS, just some random anime girl in the back. Like, they don't do that ever. So, just for that kind of uniqueness, I'm going to put this thing like upwards of A tier. Kind of wish I got this when it was cheaper, because since not getting this, I have watched some anime and it's kind of dope. So, having an anime skin would be kind of cool if this thing isn't from any kind of anime. It's just kind of a cool looking skin with a bunch of random CS references. Like, it really says CSGO, your KD, 1v5 clutch, get wrecked. I don't know what half of the other shit says, but it's probably kind of cool. And yeah, that's it for this collection. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This was actually a pretty good collection, all things considered. There's a lot of good skins in here. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe for the algorithm. and I will see you in the next one.